So let's talk about this DAngelo Russell thing. Obviously, the Nets had reason to not keep D'Lo around, but why did the Warriors do this? Why did they trade Iguodala, a first-round pick, and whatever else to get D'Lo on this team and then give him a max contract and all that? I think they just saw an opportunity to get a really good asset. Whether that means D'Lo is actually in their long-term plans or not, we don't really know. I mean, they're about to give Draymond a contract. They just gave Clay a max, and Steph is still on the supermax. So that would be a really expensive team. And, I mean, look, you could make your team extremely expensive with DAngelo Russell being one of the members of that, but it would be kind of wild if the Warriors were just totally okay with that being the thing. So I guess the first thing to look at is, can he be a trade chip down the road? Well, a lot of teams wanted him. The biggest example probably being the T-Wolves, and is there a chance that the Warriors could flip D'Lo for Covington and then maybe a third team would get involved and they could get another asset as well? That could be a possibility. I mean, Covington is a really good multi-position 3-and-D guy that I'm sure the Warriors would love to have. There are other teams who wanted D'Lo, and there are other teams who would want him if he was really available, and I'm sure some of those teams could have assets that Golden State wants, and of course they have depth problems. The Warriors do, and even with KD gone, I mean, if they were going to give Clay a max and then Draymond the max, they still wouldn't have had that many options to actually improve outside of like mid-levels and hoping their draft picks were good. So D'Lo does give them a real opportunity for that. Now, apparently they think whether D'Lo is going to play or if they plan on trading him or he's going to play for a certain amount of time and then get moved or whatever, they clearly think that that is more valuable than Iguodala and the other stuff they sent out here, which I believe is a future first with protections on it. I haven't seen an actual stone cold report about that one, but I mean, Iguodala, I guess maybe the Warriors think this is finally the time in which he's just going to hit the wall. There is also the fact that Clay is going to miss at the least enough games to get them into maybe like December or January, and there's a chance he doesn't really come back until February or March. And there's a chance that we don't see the real Klay Thompson until after 2020. And if that's the case, then I guess it makes sense to get off of Iguodala now because you wouldn't have him for his lockdown defense and all that in the postseason because you probably wouldn't have a chance to win the thing without Klay, right? So I'm just assuming that all that is going into the Warriors' mindset here. Anyway, if we talk about the chances of D'Lo actually playing for Golden State, I mean, he's a third actual scorer. He's not a guy who's just going to score like 12 points a game. I mean, D'Lo could be a high teens, low 20s scorer for these guys, and I guess be the third option, with Steph and Clay, of course, being the leading shot makers. But even then, I could picture D'Lo having the ball more than Clay, certainly, and he could be the second ball handler for this team, or maybe still third, depending on how much Draymond would be used, because of course his playmaking is still very valuable for this team. But in terms of on-ball stuff, as in with the ball in D'Lo's hands, I mean, the spacing would still be fine. He could make easy passes to Steph and Clay. He gives them still some dribble penetration next to those two, so that can create some opportunities for Looney, who's still here on a very good deal, and Draymond can finish around the rim, and the D'Lo, Draymond pick and roll could be pretty good. I mean, D'Lo has shown that he can be really capable with pull-up jumpers and floaters and all that stuff. And he can pull up on threes as well, so defenses are still going to have to step up on every screen with Golden State. This isn't going to be like D'Lo has the ball, we can take a little bit of a break. I mean, sure, it's not Steph, but he's still good enough to where the big man has to know how to defend the pick and roll, and you might still need to trap sometimes and things like that. The other thing that's interesting here is if D'Lo is going to be like in the crunch time lineups, which I guess is very possible. And I guess the lineup would be Steph, D'Lo, Clay when he's healthy, Draymond, and Looney, because I don't think there's another wing right now that allows you to put Draymond at the 5, although I'm sure the Warriors will look for that guy. But I mean, that seems pretty good. Like, D'Lo can play off the ball. They can't leave him wide open, so that's cool. Sure, they'd still have Draymond and Looney that they could dare to make shots or do whatever, but I do still feel pretty good about that thing. And D'Lo off the ball, I think there are some interesting things where he could definitely benefit from Draymond's passing. Of course, he's going to benefit from Clay and Steph's spacing, as everybody does, but it will be nice to see just Draymond be able to make some of his signature Draymond plays for DAngelo. We could also see D'Lo in a lot of transition opportunities. Now, one thing that's a little scary is the loss of Iguodala, because even when he wasn't going 100%, his defensive impact was still pretty good, and Clay's at least going to be gone for some stretch of this season, so we hope that this team doesn't crater defensively, but if they don't, then that could, of course, open up those transition opportunities for D'Lo in this team, which is really when the Warriors are at their scariest. Now, they still lost Kevin Durant, so the post-ups and the super tough shot making and the fact that he might have been the best player in the NBA and would have been able to potentially prove that if he wasn't hurt for the finals. So you don't have that. And for all the good things that D'Lo can do for you, he's not going to be able to do that, and that's fine. But I guess it is still a loss at the end of the day. But considering that they could have gone from KD to like some $7 million small forward, I think getting D'Lo is pretty good. It's just a matter now of what this leads to. Does it lead to them trading him to shore up the rest of the roster? Is he going to be the number 3 guy here? A lot of interesting things, and I think both ways can go well, is the thing, right? Like, I feel like the Warriors kind of ensured themselves that the outcome of this is going to be good. Because even if D'Lo, for whatever reason, doesn't fit that well in with the team, which I don't really picture happening, maybe it's possible. Maybe he doesn't like having just a lot of off-ball stuff, and he'd rather have the ball every possession. You can still move him and get something really good for him, so I think it's a solid move for Golden State. They saw an opportunity to get a guy, they got that guy, and now they're just going to go from here, and I think that's fine.